Hi, kindergarten. Today we will read about goods. Goods are things with value that we can eat, we can use, buy, or sell. What are some goods that you have at home? Yes, you might find goods in your kitchen like bread, or goods in your room like your books and your clothes. Today, we will read about a farmer who goes to town to sell the goods that he made and grew from his farm. As we read, we are going to use the details that we learn to retell the important information in the text. I want you to repeat after me. I will use the details in a text to retell important information. Very good. Now, before we begin reading, we need to review some important vocabulary words. The first word is whittling, or to whittle, is to cut or carve something into a shape. And you can see here. Now, let's pretend we are whittling a wooden toy. The next word is flax. Flax is a plant used for making thread, rope, and cloth. Let's spin the flax to make a strand of rope. Spin it, spin it, spin it. Very good. The next word is linen, which is right here. Linen is cloth made from flax. Let's pretend to spread our bed sheets made of linen. Now the next word is ox. An ox is an animal from the cattle family, used either for meat, transportation, or work in the farm. Now, I want you to curve your fingers, put them on your head like this, as if you were an ox. Very good. The next word is shawl. Shawl is a piece of fabric worn by women over their shoulders, their head, or wrapped around a baby. Now, you can pretend to use an imaginary shawl. I have my shawl right here, and I'm going to put it over my shoulders to warm myself up from the cold breeze. The last word is yoke. Yoke is a piece of wood fastened on the neck of an animal and attached to a cart they are to pull. And we can see it right here on this picture. We can see the yoke. Now, let's pretend we are the ox and we're pulling that cart into town. I'm going to put my hands behind my neck and my arms will be the yoke. Let's pretend we're that ox pulling that cart into town. Very good. Now, as we read, I want you to think about this question. What are goods? Ox Cart Man by Donald Hall, pictures by Barbara Cooney. In October, he backed his ox into his cart, and he and his family filled it up with everything they made or grew all year long that was left over. He packed a bag of wool. He sheared from the sheep in April. He packed a shawl his wife wove on a loom, from yarn spun at the spinning wheel, from sheep sheared in April. He packs 5 pairs of mittens his daughter knit, from yarn spun at the spinning wheel, from sheep sheared in April. He packed candles the family made. He packed linen made from flax they grew. He packed shingles he split himself. He packed birch brooms his son carved with a borrowed kitchen knife. He packed potatoes they dug from their garden, but first he counted out potatoes enough to eat all winter, and potatoes for seed next spring. He packed a barrel of apples, honey and honeycombs, turnips and cabbages, a wooden box of maple sugar from the maples they tapped in March, when they boiled and boiled and boiled the sap away. He packed a bag of goose feathers that his children collected from the barnyard geese. Now, let's turn and talk. What items did the family make at home? That is correct. The family made candles, the daughter knit mittens, the mother wove the shawl, the son carved the brooms, and the farmer split the shingles. Let's continue reading. When his cart was full, he waved goodbye to his wife, his daughter, and his son, and he walked at his ox's head 10 days, over hills, through valleys, by streams, past farms and villages, until he came to Portsmouth and Portsmouth Market. He sold the bag of wool. He sold the shawl his wife made. He sold 5 pairs of mittens. He sold candles and shingles. He sold birch brooms. He sold potatoes. He sold apples. He sold honey and honeycombs, turnips and cabbages. He sold maple sugar. He sold a bag of goose feathers. Now it's your turn to turn and talk. Why did the farmer pack goods in his cart? Yes, the farmer was going on a trip into town, but that is not the main reason. The farmer packed goods from his farm because he was going to sell those goods in town. Let's continue reading. Then he sold the wooden box he carried the maple sugar in. Then he sold the barrel he carried the apples in. Then he sold the bag he carried the potatoes in. Then he sold his ox cart. Then he sold his ox and kissed him goodbye on his nose. Turn and talk. What goods did the farmer sell? Yes, the farmer sold many goods from his farm, such as the bag of wool, the birch brooms, and the goose feathers. Now, remind me again, what are goods? That is correct. Goods are items or objects with value that we can use, buy, or sell. Today, we have many goods at home, like the bread we eat, the clothes we wear. Let's continue reading. Then he sold his ox's yoke and harness. With his pockets full of coins, he walked through Portsmouth Market. He bought an iron kettle to hang over the fire at home. And for his daughter, he bought an embroidery needle, and that came from a boat in the harbor that had sailed all the way from England. And for his son, he bought a barlow knife for carving birch brooms with. And for the whole family, he bought 2 pounds of wintergreen peppermint candies. Then he walked home with the needle and the knife and the wintergreen peppermint candies tucked into the kettle, and a stick over his shoulder stuck through the kettle's handle, and coins still in his pocket. Past farms and villages, over hills, through valleys, by streams, until he came to his farm, and his son, his daughter, and his wife were waiting for him. And his daughter took her needle and began stitching. And his son took his barlow knife and started whittling. And they cooked dinner in their new kettle. And afterward, everyone ate a wintergreen peppermint candy. And that night, the ox cart man sat in front of his fire, stitching new harness for the young ox in the barn. And he carved a new yoke, and he sawed planks for a new cart, and split shingles all winter. While his wife made flax into linen all winter, and his daughter embroidered linen all winter, and his son carved Indian brooms from birch all winter, and everybody made candles. And in March, they tapped the sugar maple trees and boiled the sap down. And in April, they sheared the sheep, spun yarn, and wove and knitted. And in May, they planted potatoes, turnips, and cabbages, while apple blossoms bloomed and fell, while bees woke up, starting to make new honey. And geese squawked in the barnyard, dropping feathers as soft as clouds. What goods did the farmer buy at the market? Turn and talk. Yes, that is correct. The farmer bought items or goods such as the iron kettle for his wife, an embroidery needle for his daughter, a barlow knife for his son, and peppermint candies for the whole family. Now, what did the farmer exchange in order to buy these goods? Turn and talk. Yes, he used the coins he got when he sold his goods. The farmer bartered or exchanged his coins for goods. Today, we learned some important information about goods. Goods are items or objects with value that we can use, buy, or sell, such as food, clothes, and tools. We especially learned that some goods can be made, like linen, brooms, and mittens. Other goods can be grown and harvested, like potatoes, apples, and eggs. In colonial times, families made or grew their own goods at home. Farmers would take these goods to the market in town to exchange for money or other goods. Now, for homework today, you will think about what goods were harvested by plants or animals in the farm. What goods were made by the ox cart man's family? On the left side of a T-chart, you will draw the goods harvested by plants or animals. On the right side, you will draw the goods made by the farm family. Remember to label your drawing with words or phrases. Here you can see an example of what your homework would look like. I drew potatoes and a turnip on the left side because that is where I'm drawing goods harvested by plants or animals from the story. On the left side, you can see that I drew a pair of mittens and a birch broom. Those are goods made by the family in the story. Submit your picture on Seesaw. And remember, in colonial times, families made or grew their own goods at home and sometimes exchanged them in town for money or other goods. Until next time.